Well, that's interesting. Just as I'm about to start recording for PBP Tips, a song with French lyrics comes up on my iPod. What a coincidence. And that, by the way, is how I learned at least a little bit of French. I listen to music while I ride, and interspersed among the songs are little French vocabulary and French lessons. So I pick up a little bit of French as I'm riding along. Anyway, a few things to talk about in this edition of PBP Tips. So let's go. So, well, first of all, if you notice, I've changed from wool to a polyester jersey today. It's getting warm here in Northern California. Last weekend was Memorial Day, and it was cold and rainy. Not exactly what you want on that weekend. And just a week later, it's about 30 degrees warmer. It's going to be up in the low 90s. So sunny and warm. And yeah, time to start switching away from wool to something a little cooler. So anyway, the big news right now is, it's June 2nd as I'm recording this. And that means that final registration for PBP has been open for a little over a week. Started on May 25th. Closes on July 3rd. Which means that if you pre-registered, you can now go back and finalize your registration. And you can do that even if you haven't completed all of your qualifying brevets. So I'm doing my last qualifier next weekend. I'm going to wait until after that. I just kind of hate to jump the gun. But if you've done, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and you want to go ahead and finalize your registration, you can do that. You'll need to go back then when you finish your last brevet and fill in that information. And like when you pre-registered, you're going to need some information like the brevet, the official number from whatever organizing body is sanctioning your brevets. If you're a member of RUSA here in the US, you can go online, look up your results, and all that information's there, but you'll need it to complete your registration. So a couple other things just as far as that goes. First of all, remember that Saturday happens in France before it happens here. So the end of Saturday in France is going to happen before it happens here, at least in the US. And that is the official closing time, is the time in France. If you're going to cut it right down to the wire, make sure that it is still Saturday or it is still whatever, July the 3rd in France when you do that. Another thing that's come up is just the whole issue of a number of riders who did not pre-qualify, who weren't able to sign up either because they didn't do qualifiers last year or they didn't get there in time this year and the ride filled up. For everything that I've seen, unfortunately you're not going to be able to go to PBP this year if you're not already pre-registered. And the questions come up, well, what about the people who don't complete their registration, who pre-registered? What about my friend? He has a pre-registration. He's not going to do the ride. Can I use his? Well, apparently not. From what I've read, they built in a cushion factor. They've already pre-registered more people than they think will actually register, so they're counting on people not signing up or not completing their registration, which means, unfortunately, that you had to have pre-registered this year or you're just not going to get in. And apparently there are a lot of people over in France, a lot of French riders who are not very happy with the way pre-registration happened this year. Normally they're the biggest group in PBP. Apparently this year that's not going to be the case for the first time. And a lot of riders over there who did not get in are not very happy about being able to, or not being able to take part in their, in their country's big ride. So I mentioned reading about some of these things that are going on with registration and so on. I'll post links down in the description below, but a couple of really good email lists that I subscribe to, at least here in the US, and they're open to anybody, but particularly for the US riders. One is the Randon list, which is kind of the randonnepuring general list. Then there's another one called PBP Prep, which is more focused on riders who are getting ready for PBP, sharing information about registration, etc. So I'll post links to both of those down in the description. You should definitely think about signing up for those. You catch up on a lot of news and a lot of things you might miss otherwise. So if you watch my videos, you'll know that I've talked a number of times about preparing for the ride, getting your bike, all your equipment, drop bag, everything like that ready. So one other thing that I've been working on is nailing down my photographic equipment. So if you've seen my Instagram feed, and I'll post a link down in the description, or if you've seen my videos from the 300 and 400K brevets this year, you'll know that I've been taking film photography out on the rides. It's just something I enjoy doing. It's a little more fun, a little more challenging, I guess, than taking digital photos. And for PBP, I think it meshes very well with some of the things I like about the ride, which are sort of the history and the tradition, and what can be more historical and traditional than taking film photos. So I do plan to do that at PBP. I'm going to be taking film pictures other than what I take with my phone, which is hopefully not going to be too much. And my general plan is to maybe put together a zine or collection of photos after the ride. So I'll keep you guys posted on that as that plan kind of advances. But I've been working with different kinds of cameras, narrowing down on small point and shoot cameras. I've been shooting a lot with a camera called the Olympus XA and one or two variants of that. It's a very small, very compact camera. It'll fit in the palm of your hand. Takes very nice photographs and very easy to use. One thing I've learned about taking photographs, especially on longer rides, is that you have to make it really, really easy to do. So basically, something like the Olympus camera, or I have another Ricoh GR10. Basically, each of those, you pull it out, and either you flip open the lens cover or hit the button on the back. The camera's ready to go, and you just line up your shot and hit the button, and you're done. I've had other cameras where you have a lens cap that maybe has to come off, or you actually have to look through it and focus it. I've got some great cameras that you have to do that. On the bike, it just doesn't really work. So I'm looking for something very small, very light, because you don't want to lug a big heavy camera around. I've got a Leica that is just a tank, which I really wouldn't want to carry for almost 800 miles. So something small, light, easy to use, that takes nice pictures. And so far I think the Olympus is going to fit that bill. So I'll share more about that in the future. Now the camera that I'm holding and filming this with right now, I think I mentioned before, is a Rilo 360 camera. I've got a system for using that that's very easy to do. I've got a case in my handlebar bag that this just kind of slips into and out of in a very easy motion. Pull it out, hit the button on the top, wait a second, and it's ready to go. But especially at the end of a long day when you're tired and you're just working, trying to get down the road, the last thing you want to do is do one other thing. So that's why making it as easy as possible to get that shot taken is really paramount, because otherwise you're going to ride along, you're going to see something and just miss a shot because you're just too too tired and you just don't want to hassle. So, you know, a couple of steps: pull it out, open it, shoot it. That's about all that I like to do, and that's what I'm aiming for in the camera that I'll be taking. So, yeah, I'll post more information about that in a future video. And of course, if I do go ahead and put together some kind of a zine, I'll definitely let you all know about that. And as I mentioned, next weekend is my final qualifier, 600K brevet. Starts in Davis, California. It's going to go up north through Oroville up to a place called Antelope Lake. And basically you just go up there, you tag the turnaround, and ride back basically the same way. So I'm on the bike that I'm probably going to take on that ride. This is my blue Centurion Pro Tour, which I profiled in a prior video. Put a new tire on the back today because I didn't want to wait until right before the ride to do that, which I always advise folks to do. Don't change stuff like that the night before the ride, because inevitably something will go wrong. And yeah, I've been doing a few other things. Put a new freewheel and chain on this recently, just getting it all in, you know, top mechanical condition. I'll probably put a new chain on in another month or so, or at least a few weeks before PBP, so I shake out any issues that might come from changing that out. When I put the new freewheel on here, the old chain didn't work, or I forget, maybe I changed out the chain and then the freewheel didn't work because it had gotten worn out anyway. Trying to avoid that. But starting to get my stuff ready for the ride next week. Putting together a mental list of everything I should do. I charged up my headlight today. So just getting those things nailed down. Hopefully have good weather for the ride next weekend. It's looking like mid-80s and almost no chance of rain. So it should be a nice ride. I'm looking forward to that. I will post a video of that event and some photos. And that's about it for this time. I'll see you next time here in PBP Tips. Thanks to everybody who has subscribed. If you haven't already, go ahead and do that, and you can hit the little notification bell. That'll send you a note every time I post something new. And I'll keep on doing these all the way through and into the event itself. So, see you on the road. See you in France. Bye. So one last quick thing about registering for PBP, and that is the jerseys. Now, I don't have my PBP jersey on, but you'll have an opportunity to pick a jersey size. And, you know, I forget that I haven't looked yet to see if it's included in the price or to pay for it separately. Anyway, if you're choosing a PBP jersey, look at the sizing carefully. And when in doubt, order something way bigger than you think you're going to need. The jerseys they sell are in French sizes, which are designed for folks who are a little bit smaller than us Americans. The last French jersey I bought was like a 4X, which fits me fine. This is not it, but you can take my word for it. Now, if I was ordering a 4X jersey in the US, it'd be like a tent. 4X in France fits my body well, which usually is a large. So pick something big, because it's probably going to be smaller than you think. And, you know, if you're like me, next year after that, you're going to be a little bit larger than you are this year. So plan ahead. All right, that's it. Last tip.